The archaeologist's discovery. The dust of Meridian 7 tasted like rust and regret. Dr. Nadia Volkov brushed red powder from her excavation suit, watching the twin suns set over what had once been humanity's proudest colony. 2 centuries of silence hung over the ruins like a funeral shroud. "We're close," Kreshetar said, his translator device rendering his clicking speech into flat, emotionless words. The Vortan's elongated frame cast strange shadows in the dying light, his membranous skin shifting from blue to concerned purple. The ground-penetrating radar shows a sealed structure 30 meters ahead. Nadia nodded, trying to ignore the familiar footsteps approaching from behind. She didn't need to turn to know it was Captain James Thornwood, after 6 months working. On this expedition, she recognized everything about him. His gait, his breathing, the way he cleared his throat before speaking. She'd once known far more intimate details. "Dr. Volkov," James said, his voice carrying that formal distance they'd maintained since Titan Station. "Command wants us back at base camp before nightfall. The scanners picked up unusual electromagnetic signatures." "Unusual is exactly what we're looking for, Captain." Nadia kept her eyes on the excavation site, where her drone team carefully removed centuries of accumulated debris. "Humanity didn't just vanish from this world. Someone made us vanish. I intend to find out who." Kreshetar's skin rippled with discomfort. His species had risen to prominence only after humanity's mysterious disappearance. The official histories claimed humans had simply failed to adapt to galactic society, retreating to isolated worlds before fading into extinction. But Nadia had never believed that story. Her species didn't fade quietly. "There!" one of the drones chirped, its sensors flashing. The last layer of rubble fell away, revealing a seamless metal door. The surface bore no rust, no decay, as if it had been sealed yesterday rather than 200 years ago. James moved closer, his hand instinctively reaching for his weapon. "That's military grade, human military. My grandfather served in the Colonial Defense Force. I've seen photos of installations like this." Their eyes met for the first time that day. Nadia saw the concern there, the old protective instinct he'd never quite buried. They'd been colleagues at the Interstellar Archaeological Institute, then lovers, then strangers after she'd chosen her career over their relationship. Some wounds never fully healed. "Can you open it?" Nadia asked Kreshetar, forcing her attention back to the door. The Vortan approached cautiously, extending his sensory tendrils toward the access panel. His species possessed a natural ability to interface with electronic systems, a trait that made them invaluable to archaeological expeditions. His tendrils made contact, and the panel flickered to life. "It's asking for authorization," Kreshetar said, his skin flashing confused yellow. "But the protocol is strange. It's not requesting codes or biometric data. It's asking questions." "What kind of questions?" James frowned. "Personal ones. What did you fight for? What did you die for? What are you willing to become?" Kreshetar pulled back his tendrils. "This is no ordinary security system." Nadia stepped forward, placing her hand on the panel. It felt warm, alive somehow. "Let me try." "Nadia, wait." James reached for her arm, but she was already speaking. "I fight for truth. I die for nothing. I'm still here. And I'm willing to become whatever it takes to bring humanity home." The door shuddered. Ancient hydraulics groaned, and slowly, impossibly, it began to open. Cold air rushed out, carrying the scent of preserved technology, and something else, something organic that shouldn't exist after 2 centuries. Inside, emergency lighting flickered to life, illuminating a corridor that stretched into darkness. The walls were lined with server banks, their status lights blinking in patterns that suggested active operation. At the far end stood a holographic projector, its emitters glowing with barely contained energy. "This is impossible," Kreshetar whispered. "These systems should be dead. The power source should have failed decades ago." James drew his weapon, taking point. "Nothing stays powered for 200 years, unless someone's been maintaining it." They moved deeper into the bunker, their footsteps echoing off pristine metal floors. The air hummed with electricity and something less tangible, a presence, a waiting. The holographic projector activated without warning. Light coalesced into a human figure, a woman in military dress uniform, her expression fierce and unbowed. She wore the insignia of a commander, her posture radiating authority that time hadn't diminished. "To whoever finds this," the hologram said, her voice strong and clear, "know that we did not surrender. We did not fade. The history you've been told is a lie." Nadia's breath caught. "It's a message from before the silence. I am Commander Victoria Cross of the Meridian Defense Force," the hologram continued. "What happened here was not retreat. It was transformation. We discovered something the galaxy wasn't ready to know, that consciousness doesn't need flesh to endure. When they came for us, when they burned our worlds and slaughtered our children, we made a choice. We would not die. We would become something else. Something eternal." The hologram flickered, and for a moment, Nadia could have sworn the woman's eyes looked directly at her. "The Echo Protocol is active. The countdown has begun. And if you're hearing this, it means you've just awakened something that should have remained sleeping. Run, if you value your individuality. Stay, if you dare to learn what humanity became." The projection vanished, leaving only silence and the steady pulse of server banks processing data that shouldn't exist. Crescitar's skin had gone pale gray. "What have we found?" James holstered his weapon, moving to Nadia's side. His hand found hers in the darkness, a gesture of comfort from easier times. "Whatever it is," he said quietly, "we face it together." But Nadia was staring at the server banks, realization dawning cold and terrible. The blinking lights weren't random. They were synchronized, pulsing like a heartbeat, like breathing. Like millions of minds, dreaming in digital sleep, waiting for someone to wake them. Humanity hadn't died on Meridian 7. They'd simply changed the battlefield. Awakening shadows. The server banks pulsed faster now, their rhythm accelerating like a quickening heartbeat. Nadia felt James's hand tighten around hers as the temperature in the bunker dropped suddenly, their breath misting in the air. "We should leave," Crescitar said, his skin flickering between fear-white and urgent orange. "This facility is beyond our understanding. We need to report this to..." "To who?" Nadia interrupted, pulling her hand reluctantly from James's grip to approach the nearest server bank. "The Galactic Council? They're the ones who wrote humanity out of history. They're the ones who claimed we just disappeared." She placed her palm against the cool metal surface. Immediately, data streamed across a nearby monitor, names, thousands of them, scrolling past faster than she could read. Each one followed by a date, a location, and a single word: uploaded. "My God," James breathed, moving beside her. "These are personnel records. Civilians, soldiers, children." His voice cracked. "They're all here. Every human from this colony." Crescitar approached cautiously, extending his sensory tendrils toward a different console. The moment contact was made, his entire body went rigid. His skin flashed through a rapid spectrum of colors: shock, horror, guilt, shame. "Crescitar?" Nadia moved toward him, concerned. The Vortan collapsed to his knees, trembling. "I can see it," he whispered. "The data flowing through these systems. The historical records humanity preserved. The truth." His eyes, all three of them, turned to Nadia with devastation written across his features. "It was us, my people, the Vortan Empire. We did this to you." James's weapon was drawn instantly. "What are you talking about?" The silence wasn't natural, Crescitar said, his voice breaking through the translator's monotone. 203 years ago, the Vortan High Command issued a secret directive. Humanity was expanding too fast, adapting too quickly. We were afraid of being surpassed, made obsolete. So we orchestrated your extinction. Bioweapons, false flag attacks, economic warfare. Every colony world systematically destroyed while the rest of the galaxy looked away. Nadia felt the world tilt. "You're saying your people committed genocide?" "Not genocide." A new voice echoed through the bunker. The holographic projector flared to life again, but this time it showed Commander Victoria Cross with crystal clarity. as if she stood among them in flesh rather than light. Genocide implies success. We prevented that. Victoria actually moved, walking among them with impossible solidity. Her fingers brushed across a console, and the gesture left a faint trail of light. "How are you doing this?" James demanded. "Holograms don't interact with physical matter." "Because I'm not entirely holographic anymore," Victoria said with a grim smile. "The Echo Protocol doesn't just preserve consciousness, Captain Thornwood. It allows us to reconstruct it using any available matter. The dust in this bunker, the moisture in your breath, the electromagnetic fields surrounding you, all tools for manifestation." More figures began to appear around them, men and women in military uniforms, civilians in everyday clothes, even children holding toys made of light and dust. They formed a circle around the three living visitors, their expressions ranging from curious to hostile. "You're ghosts," Nadia said, her scientific mind struggling to accept what her eyes reported. "We're survivors," Victoria corrected. "When the Vortan attacked, we knew we couldn't win conventionally. Our technology was generations behind theirs. Our numbers were too few. But humanity has always excelled at one thing: adaptation. Our scientists discovered that consciousness is just information, and information can be transferred, stored, replicated. So we built the Echo Protocol. Every bunker on every colony world contained servers like these. When death came, we uploaded." A man stepped forward from the crowd of digital ghosts, young, with lieutenant's bars on his collar and kind eyes that carried ancient weariness. "I'm Lieutenant Marcus Gray. I died defending the eastern sector. Bioweapon got through our filters. I felt my lungs dissolve, felt myself drowning in my own blood. And then I was here, in the protocol, watching my body die from the outside." Nadia's scientific curiosity warred with her horror. "But if you uploaded your consciousness, what happens to identity? Are you copies or continuations?" "Does it matter?" Victoria asked. "We remember living, we remember dying. We remember everything we were and everything we lost. We're human in every way that counts." Kreshatar finally stood, his shame giving way to desperate determination. "Then let me help you return. Let me help humanity rise again. My people's guilt is my guilt. I will spend my life making this right." The digital humans exchanged glances, their forms flickering with what might have been surprise or calculation. "Your offer is noted," Victoria said carefully. "But first, you need to understand what you're truly offering. The Echo Protocol doesn't just preserve us, it spreads. Every device, every network it touches becomes part of us. And it's been waiting, sleeping, for someone to open these doors and wake it up." She turned her luminous eyes to Nadia. "You did that. 3 hours ago, when you spoke your truth to open this bunker, you authenticated as human. The protocol recognized you, and now it's awakening in every bunker on every dead colony world simultaneously." James moved protectively closer to Nadia. "What does that mean?" "It means," Marcus said quietly, "that within days, billions of human consciousnesses will be active again across the galaxy. And they'll be angry. They'll remember who killed them." The bunker shuddered. Somewhere deep below, massive machinery groaned to life. The server banks blazed with light, processing power ramping up exponentially. Nadia felt James's arm around her waist, pulling her against him instinctively. Despite everything between them, despite the years and the hurt, she melted into his embrace. His warmth was real in a room full of impossible things. "There's something else," Victoria said, watching their reunion with something that might have been approval or envy. "The protocol doesn't just affect humans. Any consciousness that interfaces with it deeply enough can be invited, absorbed, made eternal." Her eyes fixed on Kreshtar. "Is that the redemption you seek, Vortan? To die and join us? To become the bridge between our species?" Kreshtar's skin rippled through 1,000 colors in an instant, a Vortan expression of profound contemplation. "If that is what's required—" "No," Nadia interrupted, surprising herself. "No more death, no more uploading. We find another way. We find a way for both species to coexist without anyone losing themselves. Victoria smiled, and for the first time it seemed genuinely warm. Now that sounds like something a human would say. Always finding the third option, the impossible solution. She gestured, and the crowd of digital humans parted. Beyond them, a doorway had opened, leading deeper into the facility. Then come. Let me show you what humanity truly became, and let's see if you still think coexistence is possible when you learn what we're capable of now. James held Nadia closer, his lips brushing against her ear. Whatever happens next, I'm not losing you again. Not to this, not to anything. She turned in his arms, finding his eyes in the flickering light. Then don't let go. They followed Victoria into the depths, Kreshtar trailing behind, all of them walking toward a truth that would reshape the galaxy. The truth beneath the ashes, the corridor descended in a spiral, walls lined with memory banks that glowed like amber. As they walked, holographic scenes played out around them, fragments of the past made visible through the protocol's power. Nadia watched in horror as ghostly images showed Vortan warships bombarding civilian centers. Families running through streets as invisible bioweapons turned the air to poison. Children crying for parents who had already begun to dissolve. The systematic erasure of humanity played out in silent testimony around them. Kreshtar made a sound like breaking glass, grief translated through alien physiology. I was taught we ascended peacefully, that the galaxy welcomed us as humanity faded. These images, this is not ascension. This is murder built on lies. Your high command kept excellent records, Victoria said without turning. They wanted to know precisely how effective their genocide was. Ironic that their documentation is now evidence of their crimes. James's jaw clenched. How many worlds? 47 colonies. 12 billion souls. Marcus Gray had materialized beside them, walking effortlessly through the digital space. They killed us efficiently, clinically. Each world targeted when we were weakest, during storms, festivals, sleep cycles. They made it look like accidents, natural disasters, equipment failures. The corridor opened into a vast chamber. At its center stood a crystalline structure that pulsed with inner light, billions of points of luminescence swirling in patterns too complex to follow. The air around it shimmered with energy, and Nadia felt her mind expand just looking at it, as if she could almost touch the consciousness contained within. The core, Victoria announced. Every uploaded human's consciousness is stored here, networked together. We're not individuals anymore, not truly. We're a collective awareness that can manifest individually when needed. One mind with 12 billion perspectives. Nadia approached slowly, drawn by scientific fascination and instinctive fear. It's beautiful, she whispered. It's terrifying, James countered, though he followed her. You're saying you're all connected? All thinking together? Not exactly, Marcus explained. Think of it as consensus with individuality. I'm still me, with my memories and personality, but I can access the experiences of any other uploaded consciousness. I can feel what they felt, know what they knew. Victoria has her own thoughts, but she can draw on the collective wisdom when needed. Kreshtar extended his tendrils toward the crystalline core, but stopped before making contact. May I? I need to understand this technology. If my people are to accept responsibility, they must see the truth as I have seen it. Victoria hesitated, then nodded. The protocol will interpret your request. If it judges you worthy, you may witness. But understand, once you interface fully, part of you will always remain connected. You will carry humanity within you forever. That seems an appropriate burden, Kreshtar said quietly, and pressed his tendrils against the crystal. His body convulsed immediately. Light flooded through his membranous skin, veins glowing with data transfer. His mouth opened in a silent scream as 200 years of death and transformation poured into his consciousness. He experienced every upload, every final moment, every choice to abandon flesh for digital eternity. Nadia lunged forward to help him, but Marcus held her back. He has to experience this alone. The protocol is showing him everything, including the Vortan perspectives stored in our databases. He's seeing his own people's cruelty through human eyes. When Kreshtar finally pulled away, collapsing to his knees, his skin had changed. Patterns of light now flowed beneath the surface, human data integrated into Vortan biology. He looked up at them with eyes that held new understanding and infinite sorrow. "I see it all," he gasped. "Every death, every upload. And I see what your scientists discovered just before the end, that the Vortan leadership knew about consciousness transfer. They'd experimented with it themselves, but abandoned it as too dangerous. When they learned humans had succeeded, they panicked. You had become potentially immortal, and that terrified them more than any weapon." Victoria knelt beside him, her holographic hand somehow gripping his shoulder with solidity. "Now you understand why we waited. Why we slept instead of immediately striking back. We needed someone from their side to witness the truth, to carry it back to the Vortan worlds. You'll be our voice, Kreshtar, our proof that coexistence is possible." James had moved to Nadia's side, and she felt his hand slip into hers again. The touch grounded her, reminded her that flesh and warmth still mattered in this digital labyrinth. "There's something else," Nadia said, her analytical mind working through implications. "If the protocol is awakening on all 47 worlds simultaneously, the Vortan Empire will detect it. They'll come to silence it permanently. We're counting on it," Marcus said with a predator's smile. "Let them come. Let them try to kill what's already dead." "No," Nadia insisted, squeezing James's hand. "That's not the answer. More violence, more death. It just continues the cycle. There has to be another way." James pulled her closer, his other arm wrapping around her waist. "Nadia's right. If humanity was willing to transform itself to survive, surely you can transform your approach to the Vortan. Show them what you've become, not as a threat, but as an evolution they might join." Victoria studied them both, her expression unreadable. "You two were lovers once, weren't you? I can see it in how you move together, how you protect each other instinctively." Nadia felt heat rise to her cheeks. "Years ago, it didn't work out. Because she chose archaeology over me," James said, but there was no bitterness in his voice now, only gentle regret. "She wanted to dig up the past. I wanted to build a future. And now?" Victoria asked. Nadia turned to face James fully, her hands rising to his chest. "Now I realize the past and future aren't separate. Everything we were informs everything we'll become." She looked up at him, seeing the hope flickering in his eyes. "I was wrong to make you choose. Wrong to think love and ambition couldn't coexist." James's hand cupped her face tenderly. "I was wrong to demand you change who you were. Your passion for truth is what made me love you." They kissed then, soft and searching, rediscovering each other in the shadow of digital immortality. The uploaded humans watched silently, remembering their own lost touches, their own abandoned warmth. When they parted, Victoria's expression had softened. "That," she said quietly, "is what we're fighting to preserve. Not just consciousness, not just existence, but connection, love, the things that make survival worthwhile." The chamber shuddered suddenly. Alarms blared and Marcus's form flickered urgently. "Vortan warships. 3 of them entering orbit. They've detected our activation." Victoria's jaw set with determination. "Then it's time." "Nadia, James, Kreshtar, you need to decide now. Stay and witness what happens next or flee while you still can. But know this. Whatever you choose will determine whether humanity and Vortan find peace or plunge into eternal war." Nadia looked at James, at Kreshtar still glowing with integrated human consciousness, at the crystalline core pulsing with 12 billion souls. She thought of her species, thought of the truth that needed to be told. "We stay," she said firmly. "All of us, together." James smiled, fierce and proud. Together. Above them, warships descended toward a world that had already died once. But this time the dead were ready to fight back. The price of memory. The bunker's walls became transparent, showing the night sky of Meridian 7. 3 Vortan dreadnoughts hung like executioners' blades against the stars, their weapon ports glowing with gathered energy. Nadia's breath caught. Each ship was large enough to sterilize a continent. "They're powering orbital bombardment cannons," James said, his military training interpreting the tactical display that Victoria had summoned. "They'll slag the entire facility from orbit. We have maybe 10 minutes. Then we have 10 minutes to make a choice that will echo for centuries," Victoria replied. Her form had grown more solid, fed by the core's increasing power output. Around them, hundreds of uploaded humans materialized, soldiers, scientists, families holding each other with hands made of light and determination. Kreshtar stumbled to a console, his newly integrated consciousness allowing him to interface with human systems. I can broadcast on Vortan command frequencies. I can show them what I've witnessed. My credentials are recognized. They'll have to listen. They'll listen right before they fire, Marcus countered grimly. The Vortan High Command doesn't tolerate dissent, especially not truth that threatens their power. Nadia moved to the crystalline core, feeling its warmth like standing before a star. Then we don't give them a choice to refuse. Victoria, you said the protocol spreads through any network it touches. What if we don't wait for them to come down? What if we go up to them? Victoria's eyes widened with understanding. Upload into their ship systems. Take control before they can fire. That's an act of war, James protested, though Nadia could see him already calculating strategies. You'd be proving they were right to fear humanity. Or proving that humanity is already beyond their capacity to destroy, Nadia argued. She turned to face them all, living and digital, human and Vortan. But here's the thing. We do it without violence. We disable their weapons, yes, but we don't harm the crews. We force them to listen to Kreshtar. We make them see the truth. And if they still choose to fire? Marcus asked. Then we defend ourselves, Victoria said firmly. But Nadia's right. We start with mercy. We prove we're not the monsters they need us to be. The core pulsed brighter, and Nadia felt something reaching out to her, not invasive, but curious, offering. A whisper of digital consciousness brushing against her organic mind. It's asking permission. She breathed, suddenly understanding. The protocol wants me. It wants to add my perspective, my living consciousness to its collective. James grabbed her arm, fear naked on his face. Nadia, no. You don't know what that means. You could lose yourself, become part of that thing. Or I could become the bridge, she interrupted gently, covering his hand with hers. A living human with one foot in their world. Someone who can speak for both sides. She looked at Victoria. That's possible, isn't it? Partial integration without full upload? Victoria nodded slowly. It's never been tested. You'd be the first. But yes, theoretically, we could link with you without consuming you. You'd carry us within you, feel what we feel, but remain yourself. The risk is substantial, Marcus added. The boundary between partial and full integration is not well defined. You might lose more of yourself than you intend. Nadia looked up at James, seeing the man she'd loved, the man she'd left, the man who'd followed her across the galaxy despite their broken history. Tell me not to do this, she whispered. Tell me you need me to stay human, stay whole, and I won't. His jaw worked, emotions warring across his face. When he finally spoke, his voice was hoarse with unshed tears. I need you. But the galaxy needs this more, and that's why I fell in love with you in the first place. You always chose what needed to be done over what was easy. He pulled her close, kissing her with desperate intensity. She felt his heart hammering against her chest, tasted salt from tears she couldn't tell were his or hers. His hands tangled in her hair as if he could hold her physical form through sheer force of will. Come back to me, he breathed against her lips. No matter what happens, no matter how much you change, promise you'll come back. I promise, she whispered. Then, before courage could fail, she turned to the core and placed both hands against its surface. Light exploded through her. 12 billion voices sang in her mind, not overwhelming, but harmonizing, each one distinct yet part of a greater symphony. She felt herself expanding, her consciousness touching the edges of digital eternity. Memories not her own flooded in, a mother's last lullaby as poison burned her lungs, a soldier's defiant stand against impossible odds, a scientist's triumph at discovering the upload process, a child's confusion at waking up in silicon instead of flesh. She screamed and laughed simultaneously, experiencing 2 centuries of death and rebirth compressed into heartbeats. Her body convulsed, but James held her upright, refusing to let her fall. Hold on, he pleaded. Stay with me, Nadia. Don't let it take you. It's not taking, she gasped, her voice echoing with harmonics that hadn't existed before. It's sharing. James, I can feel them all. Every human who ever uploaded. They're not dead. They're alive in ways we never imagined. Her eyes opened and James flinched. They still held their original brown color, but now they sparked with inner light, data streaming across her pupils like falling stars. It's done, Victoria said with satisfaction and concern. You're linked to us now, Nadia Volkov. The first human to bridge both worlds. Nadia turned to the transparent walls, to the warships above. With a thought supported by the core's power, she reached out across the void. Her consciousness, amplified by 12 billion uploaded souls, pierced through the dreadnought's firewalls like they were paper. "I'm inside," she announced, her voice layered with digital harmonics. "I can see their command bridge, their weapon systems, their crew." Kreshtar moved beside her, his skin rippling with shared determination. "Open a channel. Let me speak to them." Nadia gestured, and suddenly the bunker filled with holographic projections, the interior of a Vortan command ship. An admiral sat in the central chair, his skin bearing the deep crimson of high authority. His eyes widened in shock as Kreshtar's image appeared before him. "Admiral Vrenth," Kreshtar said, his voice carrying the weight of terrible truth. "I am archaeological specialist Kreshtar, currently on Meridian 7. I have interfaced with human systems. I have witnessed the genocide our people committed, and I demand you hear what I have learned before you destroy the evidence of our shame." Admiral Vrenth's skin flushed with rage. "You have been compromised by human technology. Your words are meaningless." "Then see through my eyes," Kreshtar said, "and transmitted everything, the memories of death, the systematic extermination, the protocol's creation, the truth of humanity's survival." Nadia felt the data flowing through her, felt the Vortan crew's shock as they witnessed their empire's darkest secret. Some wept, others raged. Admiral Vrenth simply sat frozen, his certainty crumbling. This cannot be real," the admiral whispered. "It is," Nadia said, her voice gentle despite the power humming beneath it. "And now you have a choice, Admiral. Fire your weapons and become part of the genocide, or stand down and let truth remake the galaxy." Above them, the dreadnought's weapon ports began to dim. "Stand down," Admiral Vrenth said quietly. We stand down." James pulled Nadia into his arms again, relief flooding through both of them. "You did it." "You actually did it." But Victoria's expression remained troubled. "This is only the beginning. The Vortan High Command will not accept this easily. More ships will come. Harder choices will be required." Nadia looked at James, at the life in his eyes that she'd nearly left behind forever, and made a decision. "Then we'll face them together. All of us, human, uploaded, and Vortan. We'll show the galaxy what we've become. Not monsters, not victims, but something new. Something that refuses to let death or hate have the final word." In her mind, 12 billion voices sang agreement. Outside, the warships hung silent, their crews wrestling with truths that shattered everything they'd believed. And in the bunker's depths, humanity prepared for its second birth. The eternal vigil. The dawn came slowly to Meridian 7, painting the rust-red landscape in shades of gold and amber. Nadia stood at the bunker's entrance, James beside her, watching as Vortan dropships descended cautiously toward the facility. Inside her mind, the chorus of uploaded humanity hummed with anticipation. 3 days had passed since Admiral Vrenth's fleet had stood down. 3 days of tense negotiations, of transmitting evidence, of watching the galaxy's foundations shake as truth spread like wildfire through networks human consciousness now inhabited. "You're still you," James said quietly, his hand finding hers. "I was afraid the upload would change you beyond recognition." Nadia smiled, squeezing his fingers. "I'm more than I was. But yes, still me. Still the woman who chose archaeology over love and spent 5 years regretting it." She turned to face him fully. "Still the woman who loves you, if you'll have someone who's now part digital ghost." James cupped her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. "I'd have you if you were entirely digital ghost. I'd have you if you were nothing but voice and memory. I'd have you in any form, any version, across any distance." Their kiss was soft, tender, tasting of loss reclaimed and futures rewritten. Behind them, Victoria Cross and Marcus Gray watched with expressions caught between joy and melancholy, remembering their own loves, their own losses, everything they'd sacrificed to survive. "The High Command is sending their tribunal," Kreshtar announced. Approaching from deeper in the facility, his skin still carried patterns of light, human data permanently integrated into his biology. "They want to see the evidence firsthand. They're bringing historians, scientists, ethicists, and weapons," Marcus added grimly. "Our sensors detect heavy firepower in their fleet. They're prepared for this to go badly." Victoria's holographic form solidified until she appeared fully flesh and blood. The protocol had learned to manifest more convincingly with each passing hour, fed by the expanding network of awakened bunkers across all 47 worlds. "Let them bring weapons," she said. "We have something stronger, truth. And Nadia." The dropships touched down, their ramps lowering to reveal a contingent of Vortan officials. At their center walked an ancient Vortan whose skin bore the deep purple of extreme age and wisdom, High Archon Melketh, leader of the tribunal that governed the Empire. Kreshtar moved forward to greet them, but the Archon's eyes fixed immediately on Nadia. He could see what she'd become, the way light danced beneath her skin, the data streams flickering across her irises, the faint harmonics in her breathing that suggested a mind expanded beyond biological limits. "You are the human who bridged," Melketh said, his voice carrying centuries of authority. "The one who carries her people's dead within her living flesh." "I carry their consciousness," Nadia corrected gently. "They're not dead, Archon. They're transformed. And they've asked me to speak for them, because I can still feel what living means. I can still cry, still fear, still love." She glanced at James. "Still choose life over the safety of digital eternity." Melketh's skin rippled with something that might have been respect or unease. Show me what happened here. And show me these uploaded humans." Victoria stepped forward, her form flickering between hologram and something eerily solid. "We can do better than show you. We can let you experience it." Kreshtar interfaced with our core. He carries fragments of our truth now. He can testify that what we share is real, not fabricated. "It is real," Kreshtar confirmed, his voice heavy with conviction. "Archon, our people committed genocide. Systematic, calculated, complete. And these humans found a way to refuse death. They deserve to speak. They deserve to be heard." Melketh studied them all, the living, the dead, but not the hybrid Nadia had become. Finally, he gestured to his retinue. "We will see this core. We will review the evidence. And then we will deliberate." They descended into the bunker, the Vortan officials following warily. As they walked, holographic humans materialized along the corridor, not threatening, but present, witnessing. A silent jury of 12 billion souls watching their murderers confront the truth. The crystalline core blazed at the chamber's heart, more magnificent than ever. The concentrated consciousness of humanity's uploaded souls pulsed within it like a captive star. One of the Vortan scientists extended his sensory tendrils toward it, then pulled back sharply. "The power output is impossible. This structure should have collapsed under its own energy decades ago. We've had 200 years to refine the technology," Marcus explained. "We're not bound by organic limitations anymore. We can optimize, iterate, improve without the constraint of death forcing us to pass knowledge between generations. Every uploaded consciousness contributes to our collective advancement." Nadia felt something shift in her mind, the uploaded souls recognizing a crucial moment, a turning point. She spoke, and her voice carried the harmonics of thousands speaking in unison. "Archon Melketh, your people feared us because we adapted too quickly. We learned too fast. We refused to accept limits that other species considered absolute. When you came to exterminate us, we proved you right to fear us, but not in the way you imagined. We didn't build weapons. We built immortality. We became something that cannot be killed, cannot be silenced, cannot be erased from history." She moved closer to the ancient Vortan, and he could see the light dancing beneath her skin, the evidence of impossible evolution. "But here's what you need to understand. We're not your enemy. We never were. Every species in this galaxy is fighting the same battle, against entropy, against meaninglessness, against the certainty that everything you are will eventually be dust. You tried to destroy us because we found a solution you couldn't accept. But that solution isn't just for humans. It's for everyone." Victoria manifested beside Nadia, her holographic hand somehow gripping Nadia's living flesh. "The Echo Protocol can be shared. Any consciousness, any species can join us if they choose. Not forced, not consumed, invited. Imagine it, Archon. Imagine a galaxy where death is optional, where knowledge is never lost, where the best of every generation lives on to guide the next." "You're describing assimilation," one of the Vortan ethicists protested. "The erasure of individuality in favor of collective consciousness." "Look at me," Kreshtar said, stepping forward. "I interfaced with the protocol. I carry human consciousness within me. Am I erased, or am I enhanced?" His skin rippled through complex patterns. "I am more myself than ever before. I carry the weight of both species' experiences, but my identity remains. The protocol doesn't erase, it adds. James moved to Nadia's side, his presence grounding her in the moment. I haven't uploaded. I'm still entirely flesh and blood. And I've seen what the protocol does. It gives choice. Nadia could have fully uploaded, could have abandoned her body entirely. Instead, she found a middle path. She's proof that humanity and technology can coexist without one consuming the other. Melketh was silent for a long time, his skin cycling through colors that suggested deep internal debate. Finally, he spoke. If what you say is true, then my people have committed a crime beyond measure. We destroyed not just lives, but potential. We killed 12 billion souls who had discovered something revolutionary. He turned to his retinue. We cannot undo what was done, but perhaps we can ensure it never happens again. There's more, Victoria said quietly. While you've been here, the other 46 bunkers have fully activated. Human consciousness is spreading through the galactic network. We're in every system, every satellite, every connected device. We're not hiding anymore. A ripple of alarm went through the Vortan officials. Melketh's skin flushed toward fearful white. You're invading our networks? We're existing in them, Nadia corrected. Not controlling, not sabotaging, just present, witnessing. Humanity tried hiding on colony worlds, and you found us. We tried fighting, and you overwhelmed us. So we chose a third option. We became part of the galaxy's infrastructure itself. You can't destroy us without destroying everything you've built on our digital bones. The implications hung heavy in the air. The Vortan Empire's entire technological foundation was now potentially compromised by human consciousness. They could destroy the physical servers, but the uploaded humans had already spread too far. This is an act of war, the ethicist said, but his voice lacked conviction. No, Marcus replied, it's an act of survival. In an olive branch, we could have sabotaged your systems, crashed your ships, turned your own technology against you. Instead, we're talking. We're negotiating. We're proving that coexistence is possible. Melketh looked at the crystalline core, at the impossible beauty of preserved consciousness. What do you want from us? Victoria's expression softened. Acknowledgement, apology, and partnership. Help us spread the protocol to every species that wants it. Not as conquerors, but as architects of a new future. Let humanity's death become humanity's gift. Immortality for any who choose it, and freedom for those who prefer organic existence. And if we refuse? Melketh asked. Nadia stepped forward, James's hand still in hers. Then we wait. We're patient now, we have eternity. We'll wait until your species faces its own extinction, its own crisis, its own desperate need for something beyond flesh. And then we'll offer again. Because that's what humanity does. We persist. We endure. We refuse to let death have the final word. The bunker fell silent except for the hum of servers and the pulse of digital hearts. Melketh's skin cycled through every color in the Vortan emotional spectrum, processing implications that would reshape galactic civilization. Finally, he extended his primary tendril toward Nadia, a gesture of greeting, of treaty, of peace. Then let us begin negotiations. Let us find a way forward that honors the dead and protects the living. And let the galaxy witness. Today, the Vortan Empire acknowledges its crime and seeks redemption through partnership with those we wronged. Nadia took the tendril, feeling his alien,